Hello folks, today we're going to talk to you about supplemental feeding of grain to goats and when to do that sort of thing. When you have really high quality forages, oftentimes supplemental grain is not required. But if the quality of the forages drop drastically, there are instances where additional grain needs to be fed for the goats to maintain their body condition. First though, let's talk about the most critical element for goats is to have fresh water all the time. They need clean water always available, and they need to be able to reach it and be able to drink out of the tank. In the north, in the climates where it freezes in the wintertime, it's also important that you make provisions to keep the water from freezing. Now this may consist of something simply as placing the water supply inside a building where it's not likely to freeze, or the second option is to use a heat source in the tank, or perhaps have an automatic water that has it built right into the system. The interesting thing about goats though is they're very, very curious. And I can tell you that if you leave any exposed wires or wiring with a heat system in a tank, they're guaranteed to chew on it. And so therefore protect or hide those wires so that goats won't chew on them, because I don't want your first experience to be one about electrocution. I indicated how important water is. It's also important in the summertime, and keep in mind that goats are going to drink maybe 2 or 3 times the amount of water in the summer that they will in the winter. If you have quality pastures and quality forages in the summer, usually supplemental grain feeding is not required for meat type goats, although you still need to feed some to the lactating dairy goats. If the quality of the pasture though is low and the forage quality is low, you may need additional energy, especially if it's winter time. This grain should consist of the required protein, energy, mineral, and vitamin requirements. And sometimes we also add feed additives to allow goats' digestion to make more efficient use. Feed additives such as monensin or products like that. Never feed more than half of the diet as supplemental grain, or you can set your goats up for a number of digestive upsets and illness. The formulation that you feed of grain to goats depends on the type of forages being fed, whether it's winter or summer and that kind of thing. However, I can tell you this: help is available in developing that formulation through your county extension agent, your local feed supplier, or your veterinarian. Here's the basics though. Pasture in the summer, hay and grain in the winter with a trace mineral salt that includes selenium. Prior to the breeding season, you may want to also start a free choice mineral program that consists of dicalcium phosphate, minerals, trace minerals, and salt with selenium included. And you want to start that about 3 weeks before the breeding season starts. Now, some goat flocks are located in areas of the country where they have byproduct feeds available, and they may opt to, instead of feeding grain, feed beet pulp or turnips or wet brewer's grain or sweet corn silage. These usually can be fed and supplemented with some minerals, but most of the country don't have those kind of ingredients available, and the grain supplementation is going to consist of corn, oats, or sometimes barley with soybean meal added as a protein source. Now, the amount of soybean meal